Welcome to Africa Ascending Bites, a series of short podcasts where we hear the news, views and opinions of Mr. Udai Patel, CEO of Afro-Asian Insurance Services Ltd. Welcome, Udai.
Thank you, Liz.
Today, we're going to start this series with a slightly unusual take of talking to Udai about a big birthday that he's just celebrated. Udai, do you want to admit to the general public exactly how old you were?
Well, only 65 years young.
Congratulations. Now, as we know, in many African companies, you would have been asked to retire when you hit the grand old age of 60. But in the UK, you're not even quite eligible.
Not quite, although 10 years ago, I had a lot of pressure to retire from my nearest and dearest, my wife. And she's been at it ever since. And I've been resisting because I enjoy the work too much.
Well, we'd be very sorry to lose you. I think everybody values you in the African insurance market. It would be a sad day when we don't see you at events and in market visits and everything else.
Thank you.
But on a more serious note, obviously succession planning is a vital conversation.
Yeah.
There is a need in Africa for older, greyer heads to make way for younger people who are coming in their bigger numbers. But at the same time, you don't want to lose that experience, do you? So how do you view succession and what next?
Well, I've been an advocate of mentoring for a long time. We've been putting it into practice at Afro-Asian, not only in the UK, but throughout the group, because there are a lot of grey hairs leading a lot of the Afro-Asian entities throughout Africa. And the way we do the mentoring is that we identify individuals who show promise, and then we guide them through their professional period with Afro-Asian, and we then share our experiences with them. Because especially me, in 65 years, I've been through quite a lot. I've seen quite a lot, experienced quite a lot. Obviously, that's not necessarily true for the younger people within the group. That's basically, it's not a formal structure of mentoring. It's basically, I would say, on-the-job mentoring.
And I know in some jurisdictions, Nigeria is a classic example of this, there is a limit, isn't there, on you can only be a director of the company for 10 years, I think is the tenure. And there are some strict rules around retirement. Do you think that sometimes the regulators are pushing a bit too hard and actually we need a better balance between allowing people to stay and give back?
Yeah. So basically, I understand why these regulations are there, because rotation of directors is very important to make sure that the company is relevant as it goes on. But I am a firm believer that rotation of directors is all well and good in public companies where it's a large entity and you have a big pool to choose from. But if you're a small company, let's say a small insurance broker in a country in Africa, where probably the owner is the principal director and probably family members are other directors, it doesn't make sense to impose rotation of directors in those circumstances, because where do they go? They're not going to relinquish control of their company to outsiders who could probably come in and with the delegated authority do what they want and probably destroy a life's work. I think regulators have to be very careful how they, in my opinion anyway, and a lot of them may disagree, how they impose that rule.
Another thought. I remember being at a conference in Mombasa with the Kenya Brokers Association. It was actually in Diani Beach. But I remember listening to somebody talking about succession, and he was making the point that if you train your son or your daughter and in far-flung places, you can't. This association conference, and somebody was talking about succession and saying if you send your son or daughter to Australia to train to be an engineer and they go to university or they go to Canada or the States or they come to Europe, why do we expect them to come back into the insurance industry when they've done their training? If you want to develop them for your own business, why do you then also at the same time sort of push them out to the far-flung corners of the world? And it's an interesting concept, isn't it? How do you balance sort of training your children to take over your business while at the same time letting them free to do what they actually want to do. Where do you see that going?
Children succeeding their parents in business, in my books, is very old school. It used to be the case, my grandfather wanted my father to join him in his business, which was nothing to do with insurance. My 2 daughters were educated in this country, in the UK. They're both in insurance, different fields. One's an underwriter, one's a catastrophe modeler. Neither of them want to come into the business, but then both of them are immensely successful in their own fields, in their own right. Both of them are award winners. My elder daughter got the Underwriter of the Year award in the UK, in the London market. Only last week, my younger daughter got the Catastrophe Modeler of the Year award, again in London. So they are ahead of their field, but the reason they don't want to join is because they're very comfortable where they are. Their employers treat them very well. Their teams, they enjoy working in those teams. So really, for them to uproot and come into Afro-Asian, whilst I would love they do that, and there's some continuity there, it would make them uncomfortable because they would have to start from the bottom.
Interesting. On that note, I think, Udai, we're going to stop for today. Thank you very much. Congratulations again on that big birthday. And I will look forward to hearing from you on our next subject for Africa Ascending Bites, which you will hear again in 2 weeks' time. In the meantime, you will hear this on www.afropublishing.com. You'll also hear this on Afro-Asian and, of course, on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. So thank you very much, Udai, and we'll speak again soon.
Thank you, Liz.